Hello, ladies, and welcome back to Rock Your Reinvention, the show that gives you all the tips and tools you need to rock your life reinvention by interviewing amazing women who have already been there and done that. And I am so excited for today's guest. We actually met through a mutual friend. She saw my book title. She sent me a message on Messenger through Facebook. I started checking out her profile and I was like, I need to have you on my show. So amazing. So welcome to the show, Melisa.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I feel like there's a certain special kind of person that's like, oh, your book. That was me.
I love that because yesterday I had a very discouraging call with somebody who was like, your book, you need to just put that away. That is not good. And I was like, okay, then you're not for me. It's okay. Yep. So anytime I get somebody who's embracing it, I'm like, you're my people. I need to surround myself with other amazing women who are not afraid of the V word. So
it does remind me again. It's like the Chronicles of My Vagina, or what is it again?
I have it. It's the ins and outs of my vagina, a penetrating memoir. Yes. So, go big or go home. That's my thought process. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about you. And I would love if you could just take a minute to share who you are and what you do, where you're based, anything you want people to know about you. Just take like a minute or two to introduce yourself.
Yes. So I'm Melisa Keenan. I'm the CEO of Alma Publishing. I have been the CEO for 6 whole weeks. It has been a very amazing and beautiful transition, which I'm sure we'll go into a bit here. For the last 5 years, I've run an intimacy coaching business, and I'm very passionate about helping people go into me see and bring that forward. And so for the last 5 years, I've helped women do that in their intimate partnerships. I've also helped them do that in their business and their work in the world, and just be more visible and believe in the worthiness that they have to be seen, to be known, to be heard, all of this kind of thing. And so when this opportunity came to acquire the publishing company, it just felt like such a natural iteration of my heart and my purpose on the planet. And so that's the work that I do. I have 4 kids. We live in Reno, Nevada, and we live on a hobby ranch, which we have just expanded. So we have 2 goats and like 9 chickens, something like this. And we have an empty beehive that I'm actively, energetically calling in, like, come on, bees, come into our beehive. And we have 2 bunnies and 2 cats as well. And those are the 1 kitten and 2 bunnies are new to us. So we are very full. Our home is very full and active all the time.
I love that. I want goats so bad. I think goats are the cutest. I live in an HOA, so I can't have them right now. But someday, that's one of the things in my vision board. I will have goats. So, tell us a
They're
little
noisy, and they honestly, sorry, we got a little delay, I think. I'm just saying they're noisy and they are a bit more work than like chickens. Like I feel like chickens are just so low key and you don't have to do that much. But where we love raw milk and we're super passionate about raw milk, and it's illegal to buy or sell or blah, blah, blah. And, and a cow produces 3 to 5 gallons a day. And even with a family of 6, that's beyond our capacity. So we went the goat route, and we love them. They're so sweet and kind. But when they're in milk, it's a whole lifestyle because it takes about 2 hours out of every day to milk the goats.
All right, maybe I'll rethink that. But we love raw milk too. And it is legal in South Carolina, so I can go to the store and just buy it, which is amazing. But anyway, tell me about the moment that you knew you needed to reinvent your life, right? Something was going on and you're like, okay, I need to make a change.
I look at just this most recent big shift to Alma Publishing. I literally never thought I would do anything but intimacy work, like ever. I literally did not see myself doing anything else. And there wasn't a moment where I said, I think I should move into publishing. That actually didn't happen until the opportunity presented itself. And I think that, particularly I'm a manifesting generator. So my life acts that way anyway, where I have, I get that's a human design term if you're not familiar with that. But I'll get presented with opportunities, and it's like, oh yeah, like, was that actually in response to the desire that I put out to the universe, And so when this opportunity came, it was just like, I think this is what we've been praying for this whole time.
That's really cool, because I think a lot of people, and a lot of the women that I've had on this show, have had these moments where they're like, this isn't working. Something's wrong in my life. Like there's usually, or many times there's like a bad catalyst, right? That preempts you to like make a change. But
Right.
I love that you're saying there was not necessarily anything wrong with what was going on in your life. You loved your work, but there was just this new and exciting opportunity that was presented for you.
And I will say, because with any change, like there definitely was like a gutting process that happened before this that was preparing me for something, but I didn't know what the crap it was. Oh my gosh, all of 2022 particularly was just lesson after lesson after lesson, like hard stuff about how I had chosen to be as a business owner, like the advice I had chosen to take in rather than standing in my truth and being like, no, that doesn't feel like it's an integrity. Like, just there was so much, like I feel like it was like a forest fire, like massive purification. But ultimately, I had kind of been brought to this place where I was like, I feel so content. And I feel like, life looks different. Things look more beautiful. And it was almost like, okay, now you're ready.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. When you were making this change, and I know this is so recent, so it's great because it's fresh in your mind. Did you ever experience any imposter syndrome or feel like there's no way I can do this? Who am I to become CEO of this publishing company? And if you did, how did you overcome that or keep it in check?
Yeah, what's so funny is when we had the initial conversation with the founders, the only emotion I felt was panic. Like, it was so fascinating because my husband and I are both moving into this, and my husband is usually the kind of person that takes like for example, the man decided he needed a new truck. It took him 6 months to choose that truck. Like, this is the kind of man we're talking about. He just likes to take his time and like logic everything out. I'm the exact opposite typically, but on the call, he's like, I know there's a lot we need to discuss, but this is a full yes for me. And I was looking at him like, what is happening in my world? Nothing was like, nothing is familiar.
Divine intervention. Like, he just, you know what I mean? Like, he was channeled just to say that yes, so that you wouldn't give into your panic.
Exactly. Because the imposter syndrome was my immediate default. And it's interesting because I don't feel that on a consistent basis in this company. And it surprises me because I would say that's like a new thing I'm stepping into. Like, for the first 35 years of my life, I've felt imposter syndrome in every facet because it's like built into our society. Like, you should always feel like you're not enough as a mother, as a homemaker, as a business owner, any hat, you name it. You just make sure you don't feel like you're enough. Right. And then society's happy with you. Like, heaven forbid you actually feel confident and competent. Right. Everybody will feel threatened by that. Yeah. And that's the reality, but I actually feel very confident and competent. As I look at my 5 years of, I would say the first 2 years of running my intimacy coaching business, I didn't think of myself as a CEO. I didn't run my company as a company. I was just figuring out what the crap I was even doing online and how, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Coaching naturally, but not all the business facets. And probably about 2 years in, I was like, no, I am a CEO. And I started calling myself a CEO, and I started hiring teams and things like this. And so I could just look back and be like, oh, I was absolutely prepared for this. So bring it on. This is a lot larger scale. Intimacy coaching obviously is a very intimate, like I might have been working with 10 clients at a time max, where in this publishing company, we may have 10 projects running at one time, a couple hundred people potentially running at one time. So, but it's exciting.
It is exciting. And I always like to remind my clients, like, your skills are so transferable, right? If you can do it for a team of 10, you can do it for a team of 10,000, like 10,000. Oh, and we're getting some awesome comments in here too. If you are on Facebook, you also need to just give permission to StreamYard so I can see your name, because we're getting some good comments, but I can't see who they're from. So thank you. And she is very inspiring. And I knew that this would be such an awesome conversation today. So I'll keep that up there for a moment so you can read it. Okay. So imposter syndrome, definitely something I think all of us deal with. Just, reminding ourselves, oh, like, hey, I have these amazing skills. I've done these things before. I prepared myself for this. I'm ready to step into my full purpose.
Well, and I actually, I think there's that practical aspect of imposter syndrome, but I think the other part of why I can feel the way that I feel is not just because, like, oh, look at what I've done. Like, I've already navigated plenty of failures in that realm. So I know right. Like what works, what doesn't work or whatever. But it's not just the practical side. For me, there's also been a deep inner transformation and recognizing the role that all these broken systems play in that messaging. That was massive for me because I believed my imposter syndrome. Like, I thought it was very, very true. And it's taken me recognizing that actually never was mine. It was imposed upon me and my ancestors, who also imposed it upon me. It was imposed upon them. And it's because we live in broken systems. We're measured at every step of the way, for example. Just that alone is enough to make you feel like you're constantly grasping to make sure you're at the top of the totem pole, not the bottom. And that's already we're put in that. We're put in that, whether, even just for our babies, if they're like gaining weight properly.
Right.
So it's like literally from the beginning. And so really seeing that and then seeing how that plays out in different cultures, it just made me go, wait a second, this is all made up.
Yes.
This doesn't serve
that, yeah, it's like freedom, right? When you realize, like, I don't have to subscribe to these measurement systems anymore. I love that. That's so awesome. So what drew you into the publishing industry? Because you said this was never really like a thing that you dreamt you'd be doing. So what was it that made you go, yes, this is exactly what I need to be doing?
Well, a little bit of backstory with this. I was published for my first time in a multi-author collaboration book project in 2021. And when that came along, I was so relieved because I had already hired a book coach and fired a book coach. And I had already bought these different systems. I was really trying hard to understand how. I knew I had a message to share. And I was like, how in the heck am I supposed to get this out there? Like, I saw people who had self-published and got like 10 readers. And then I saw people who were spending their entire life submitting manuscripts. And it's like, that's a full-time job. Yes. So I was just like so confused by the whole process. I had actually put the whole thing on the shelf because I thought, I'm not going to pour hours of my heart and time and everything into a book that's going to get a few readers. I don't know. That doesn't interest me. But then I found the multi-author book project and I was like, oh my gosh, you're telling me I can just write my story and then leverage all the, other authors in the book. And it just felt like, oh, this is how it's meant to be. This is what I've been looking for. So because of that, I started to really delve in. And now I've been published 3 times in multi-author books, and my thank you. And my solo book project is in the works. And so, so that was initially where my interest came from. But the more, it's so funny too. Like, I can't even tell you how many people have become a published author because of me, because I referred them to someone in this publishing company and was like, you have to write your story in a multi-author book, like, over the years, because I was just like, this is such an amazing process, And as I became a part of that whole world and seeing these people get up and share their story and how it changed their life and how it changed their business, and it just really inspired me. And I started to recognize how much I relate to storytelling. It actually changed how I even coached, because I used to be very much like, more of a consultant. Like, let me tell you what to do. Let me tell you how to live. And instead I was like, wait a minute, like the way that people always share feedback with me of what changed them the most was my stories. And so I started coaching this way and just recognizing, like, it's almost like there are people who don't get it, who read stories and kind of go like, get on with the point, right? They just haven't woken up yet to it. And then there are those of us who are like, and we recognize stories are medicine, and they carry codes, and they change our DNA, they change our energy on such a core level. And I was like, I got to be a part of this.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Stories really are so powerful. Medicine. Stories are medicine. Like, I'm just going to take that with me. So you've got a new project right now at Alma Publishing, right? Tell us about this book that you are putting together with multi-authors.
Yeah. So Sacred Silver Linings, Uplifting Stories from Women Who Found the Bright Side in Dark Times is our upcoming project. And we're enrolling authors for that right now. And it was so neat because I was walking in my garden, talking to my flowers one day, and I was like, feeling into the energy of this book. And what the download I received was, you need to have women come sit in your backyard around this campfire and tell stories. Well, this was a desire I had had multiple times, but I always shut it down for some reason. Like, my house isn't quite ready, or, people aren't going to come, or whatever. I always had some reason, and I would just shut it down right there in my backyard. Like, nope, this is just going to die here. And this time I was like, no. And then it was like, if you want to know what the energy of this book is supposed to feel like, you have to do this. And so I invited these women over, and about 18 to 20 women showed up, and 4 of them came from hours away. I had no idea. I like posted about it once, and people were like, I must be there. So it's so magical. So we gathered these women. And, it started out all as strangers, just like we do in a book project. We start out all as strangers, but we came together, and I called it sacred storytelling. Everyone knew there was going to be some sacred storytelling. What the heck that meant to anybody, I don't know, but they showed up. And by the end, there were no walls. There were no labels. All the women, like, we had laughed together, and we had cried together, and we had shared beautiful stories, and we all walked away changed. And that's what this book is. It's, yes, it's an amazing business strategy. It's an amazing marketing tool. And it really revolutionizes the way you approach marketing, because it's so much more based in feminine energy, based in collaboration and connection. And if we all rise together, we go farther. It's like really rooted in all of that. But at the core, it's about changing people by sharing your story that, like, only you can tell, that you earned through life hard experience.
Yeah. And it's so therapeutic, right? Like, I know when I wrote my memoir, it's just like, oh my gosh, I can let go of all these things that I felt about my body, or these expectations that I had placed on myself for intimacy and sex. And like, oh, I just get to be free of it now. Like, it's out there, and nobody can hold this over my head. Like, it was just so cathartic, really.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of funny because, like, the universe punks us because we're like, oh, I'm going to write this story, and then it's going to, generate all these big results and everything. And really it's like, and then you're going to be completely different on the other side.
Yes, totally.
And then that's so cool, right? Like, so it's very transformational for the authors, and then it's very transformational for the readers.
Yeah, it's a win-win for sure. And we have a special offer, but we're going to share it at the end. So y'all have to hang on, because if you are thinking about becoming a multi-author, part of a multi-author book, we have a special offer for you. So you can jump into Sacred Silver Linings. And so stay tuned for that. So let's shift gears just for a second and talk a little bit about work-life balance, because okay, you're managing like a whole farm. You've got 4 kids. You're married. So we know you want some intimacy and relationship there. Like, what strategies are you using to make sure you keep all of your priorities straight and you get to all the important things?
Well, let's just also add to that pile of list of things you said that I unschool my children.
Yep.
We are like homeschooler, unschoolers. And I think the most important thing that I can do every day is I prioritize what I want. Like in every facet, I prioritize what I want. And when I don't, nothing works.
Right.
This doesn't work. The kids are fighting. I'm unhappy. Everyone's unhappy. So I just prioritize what I want. And, you know, with a new business, I would say like my time management is probably not ideal right now because I'm still figuring out like a good flow. Like this feels different than how I ran my previous business. Because things are going to come in seasons and stuff, and we're in launch mode right now.
Right.
But you can bet yesterday morning I got up and made a chocolate cake and dusted it with powdered sugar and put flowers over the top, and then we set out our table in the backyard and had a tea party with like milk rose tea and
That sounds amazing.
like you have to make time for this stuff because that's what matters more. And as long as I keep my priorities straight that way, that's all that matters. I do a few other like tangible, maybe more masculine energy, structural things like for the majority, scheduling my calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and so that I just only have to do back end kind of stuff on the other days. And I have an amazing team. I have people that have supported me. We're actually just wrapping up with a group of interns that were in our company, and so supportive. Like just so having people that I can reach out to and say, hey, I need support with this or that, and asking for help. And then I would say the other piece that's been massive, which came from understanding the multi-author strategy as a marketing strategy, it changed the whole way I run my business. So if you go to my Facebook profile right now, you will see like 20 people who have posted about this book. And that is because I reached out to them and I asked them if they would.
Yes.
See over the last 2 weeks that I have been interviewed again and again and again. And, those interviews were different than this. Your show is so like you put on a beautiful production. But my other interviews, it was literally I reached out to people and asked them, would you interview me about this book? It's just simple things like that most women are not willing to do because we don't want to look like we're weak because asking for help is weakness and we don't, blah, blah, blah. I refuse to do this alone. Like, why?
Yes.
If people are excited to support me. So that makes a massive, massive difference as well. So I've got an army of women that are supporting and sharing my work. And then you would think like, if I've got 20 women sharing my work, then what does that mean I have to do in return for them? It all works out. It's very beautiful. It's not like, now I'm so swamped with supporting these 20 women. Like
right.
Seasons, and it's all perfect. So that's been massive as well.
That is awesome. And I'm glad you brought that up because there is such an ego thing that happens for a lot of us. Like, well, they should be coming after me and asking to interview me. I'm not going to ask to interview them. Why? Like, just pick up the phone and ask somebody. Like, the answer is always no until you ask, Like I'm in the process right now of getting endorsements for my next book. And so I am reaching out to people that I have never met or that I've just followed their stuff. I'm having like a fangirl moment. Like, hey, I really love your stuff. I know you don't know me. Would you do this? And you know what? 50% of them or more are probably going to say no, but that doesn't mean that you stop. Because you're going to get one or two. Sometimes it is a numbers game. So don't stop at the first no, because I think a lot of women do that too. And then the ego takes a hit and they're like, well, nope, then I'm not going to do it. And kind of like your idea with the backyard, it died in the backyard until you finally then had the confidence to bring it to fruition. So I hope that's helpful for people who are listening.
Yeah. You'd be so surprised at how, when you ask how willing people are, it's just beautiful. It's like, it's a real testimony builder in humanity too.
Yeah, totally. You're like, okay, the world doesn't suck as much as I think it does. So this is awesome. I love how you prioritize your day. I think that's so important. And it's very easy if you don't be intentional in the morning to all of a sudden get to 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night and go, where'd the day go? And there's all these things that you still wanted to accomplish. So that's amazing. how does mom guilt, or have you ever experienced mom guilt? Does it play a role in your day-to-day life? How do you handle it if it creeps up? I just would be curious how that's presented itself for you.
That's so interesting. I think that has come in waves. I actually really felt a big shift with this after I had my third.
Okay.
So some of my backstory is my husband and I almost divorced, and we had in 2013, we had a 6-month separation where he didn't live in the home. And it was, my kids were 4, 2, and 2 months old, all three still in diapers in some capacity. It was like so hard. And it was actually, during that time, I couldn't even get off the couch, or get out of bed. I didn't even fully breastfeed my third because I was just like, it's just too stressful. It had always been a challenge for me before. And I was just like, so she was mostly bottle fed, like all these things that, induced a lot of guilt. And more than anything, I felt like crap. I laid this whole foundation for these kids, and now they're looking at me like I'm still their superhero and I have no answers. And here I thought I had life figured out, and I clearly don't. I don't even know up from down most days and can't hardly function. I was diagnosed with PTSD because of the nature of what my husband and I were going through. And it actually was during that time. I remember I was standing in the kitchen and I was just overwhelmed with all this guilt about my kids and how much screen time they were having during all of this because it was really good function. And it just felt like, I can't describe it any other way, like a mantle, like a crown was placed on my head. And it was like, you finally know how to be a mother. You know what your children need. This whole experience is exactly what they need, because if it wasn't, it would be some other way. You don't have the capacity to screw them up. Like, they have a sacred path and a sacred journey. And even if they get issues from you, or they have trauma that they have to work through as an adult because of you or whatever, like, their spirits are wise. And all you have to do is trust that this is all meant to be. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I know how to be their mother. And that changed everything for me. Like, and part of it was, I started having babies at 21. I had my first child at 21. I had all 4 kids in my 20s.
Yeah.
So there was some aspect of me still and I don't have a good relationship with my mother. And so me still just even feeling like, I need a mother. I don't know how to be a mother. I need a mother.
Right.
And so that really coincided. I think with my marriage blowing up and me taking back my own self and my own self-care, and, all of those pieces really played a factor into this as well with my kids, because, that's when I started going, I have to prioritize me. And if I do that, then everything else falls into place.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really easy for people to sit here and watch interviews and go, well, she's got it all together. She doesn't know what I've been through. And so when we can hear these stories of overcoming and being able to trust the path and know that this is all meant to be and that everything is happening for you, not to you, it just gives others who are still in those dark places a little bit of hope that this isn't the end. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I just haven't found it yet. And I got to keep pushing forward and keep waking up every day and showing up and doing life and know that it's going to all work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that. I think that listeners need to hear these types of conversations. So you're obviously not divorced. So you are now back together happily, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And as an intimacy expert, I think we all want to know, what is your biggest tip for women who want to maybe avoid divorce or experience more intimacy in their relationship?
Yeah. Ultimately, I became the intimacy coach because of the transformation that I experienced. But it wasn't just because my husband and I made it work. Like, that was beautiful. And I was so breathtaking by that process and journey. But what made the biggest difference was the way I changed me.
Mm.
And unfortunately, in the personal development world that we live in, when we hear that, we think hard work, like tons of self-sacrifice, punishing ourselves, cutting off parts of ourselves that clearly are sabotaging everything that we want. And I did that. I did all of that too. But actually, what changed my marriage so much was me incorporating myself. It was literally like, no, actually, it's not about cutting off parts of me. It's not about perfectionism. It's not about trying to be someone that I think I'm supposed to be, or shoving parts of my trauma and my story aside so that it doesn't accidentally, spill out like toxic sludge onto the people I love. It was none of that. It was actually like, no, I'm going to take all those parts of me and learn to love myself and bring forward all the parts of me. And it's so crazy because I would say that journey started in 2013, and somehow I still feel like a baby on that journey. Like, because it's so, like, the journey inward is eternal. It's like, oh my gosh. And you find something and you go, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize you were hiding in there. And then this like tremendous self-compassion. Because what all of that did was it actually stopped me from truly the sabotage I was doing in my marriage, like pushing away the love that was there and pushing away the good that was there, and always assuming the worst and always having my guard up and always being on the defense. Because, truthfully, before I met my husband, every relationship in my life was constantly throwing toxicity and trauma and all these things. That was my default. That's what I learned how to do, is just be on guard and have all the walls up and stuff. And the biggest path to like softening and opening and receiving and believing that I'm worthy of being cherished and adored and admired and held and known and all of these things was doing those things for myself first. Makes me emotional. It's just been such a beautiful journey. And I think we just underestimate, like, every woman that I talked to in the last 5 years is, with almost without exception, is like, yeah, but the reason we have problems is because of him. I so get that. But the reality is we're in a day and age, in an era where feminine energy is on the rise, and it's up to us. We're the torchbearers, whether we like that or resent the hell out of that, because we do, it's up to us to bring forward our heart and begin to live from this elevated state of like, I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose what I want. I'm going to live with more joy. I'm going to call that stuff in. And then typically our husbands are like, hey, that looks pretty good. Maybe I should do it.
Yes, you're leading them along this path. And what I love about that tip is that you have 100% full control over it, right? Like, you get a lot of tips like, hey, set the mood, turn the lights on, or do this. Like, okay,
you have no idea the outcome. Exactly.
Like, you don't know if he's going to be receptive to it or not. So at least with this, with traveling inward and really taking care of yourself first, like, you have control over that. That's so empowering.
Yeah. And, I think it's on all levels too. Like, as much as we want to reject our trauma or the decisions that we made in the past that we feel shame about, or those kinds of things, the reality is we can't get close to people because we're shutting off parts of ourselves. So we can only connect with someone as deep as we've been willing to connect with ourselves. And that has been a huge gift for me too. Like, just loving all those parts of me. Then it's like, oh, then when I see something that is scary for me and my husband, because he's a human and he has scary stuff too, and trauma and shame and poor decisions and blah, 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 all the things, I can be like, oh, like, I love you, and approach it with understanding and curiosity. And I don't have to go into total panic mode and draw my swords like my warrior, we can love each other in the pit. And that allows us to love each other even more through growth and through the good times and the joy and laugh together and all of that.
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. We definitely need more intimacy in all of our lives, right? You can never have too much, I don't think. So, but
I
I'm going
agree.
to hold on to that comment about you can only connect with somebody and go as deep with someone else as you've dared to go with yourself. So, that's an important introspection for a lot of us. Have we gone deep enough? And maybe that's why we're not connecting with other people. All right. I could talk to you literally all day. I can't believe we're already at 12:35. This is crazy. So, what I would love to know, two things. One, if you could say anything to the women who are watching that want to make a change in their life, but they are just feeling scared, they don't know how to get started, what would you tell them to do?
To picture the elevator and starts in your head, bring it down into your heart and ask your heart what you want to do. And then bring it down into your gut and ask your gut what you want to do. And then do the thing that feels the most joyful. Like it might come with all this scary, like feeling, but if it excites you, you got to just try it. And you can only just do
you're going to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have that fear, right? Like it's going to come with those things.
Yeah.
Find the joy, find what excites you.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. What a great tip. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Where can everyone connect with you? And what is your special offer for all of our listeners today?
Yes. So please come, friend me on Facebook for sure. I also have a free intimacy guide that will drop you into all things heart-centered, story, sacred stuff in there. We'll say that. That's at melisakeenan.com, and it's the free intimacy guide. It pops right up.
Yeah, and it's Melisa with one L.
Yeah, one L, one S.
Yep.
But actually, if you misspell it, it's fine. It will still direct you to my website. So it's all good.
Oh, yes. One S. That's what I meant to say. Yes.
One L, one S, all the things. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And then what I would love to do for our listeners today, Karen, is if you email me at support@melisakeenan.com or DM me here, on social media, and you mention this interview with Karen, and you want to be a participant in Sacred Silver Linings, you want to be an author in that is an investment, but we would love to offer you a $500 off coupon if you mention this interview. Yes.
That's huge.
So amazing. That's a massive, it's like 25% discount. So that's a massive offer. Just mention Karen or mention this interview, and in the next 48 hours. So we'll put a timeline on that. We're closing out the enrollment on July 31st for this particular book project. And so, it's time. Act now.
Yes. Yeah. The universe, you're watching this for a reason today. Like I always believe that it is a sign. And the fact that you're going to get $500 off, that is so generous. I mean, a lot of times people come on and they're like 10% off or $50. Like, I mean, this is a significant savings, and it's going to give you the confidence that you need to officially step into being an author and sharing your message. I'm so excited for everyone. This is such a cool gift for us today. Thank you so much for that and for being here and sharing your wisdom with us today. I mean, it's just like golden nugget after golden nugget.
Thank you so much, Karen. And thank you for your energy. Isn't she just contagious?
Oh,
you got such a peppy energy. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's been so much fun. Everyone, go connect with Melisa right now. Sign up to be part of Sacred Silver Linings, and I will see all of you in the Facebook group real soon. Have a great day. Bye.